Gary, here we are in the town of Harrow, which has got an amazing story.
You have a goat in your car?
Yeah, that's Gary.
Do you usually have a goat in your car?
Yeah, they're hornier. Tell me the story, yeah.
Are you videoing
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
I'd rather you didn't.
No, it's a good story.
Well, why don't you come and video the Discovery Centre and promote it?
You've just done it then. So what's the story with Johnny?
So, Harrow settled in the 1840s.
Yeah.
At the time there was a large Indigenous population here.
Yeah.
A lot of bloodshed on both sides.
Yeah.
A few years later, all the station workers from the three main settlements bolted for gold.
Yep.
So the station owners employed the local Aborigines to work. They were good shearers, they were great stockmen, and on the weekends there's not much you can do with two white fellas and a dog, so then they were brought onto the cricket pitch and they made great cricketers.
Yeah.
There were a few exhibition matches in the bigger towns, Aboriginal teams versus European settler teams.
Yeah.
And there was some discussion at the time of taking them back to the old country and basically, you know, showing them off, and government put its foot down and said you can't take them, they're ours. So they were smuggled, a team from the southwest,
Yeah.
taken from Warrnambool to as far as Bring Albert and Apsley. They were put together, snuck down to Queenscliff, smuggled onto a boat and taken to England.
Right, and they played England. They were the first. They went there before the Ashes.
So they are officially recognised in the Sport Australia Hall of Fame as our first international touring sports team and our first international cricket team.
Right, and they went in. It was 1868. They went
1868.
there, which is 10 odd years before the Ashes.
12 years before a white team, a European settler team, would go back to England.
That's just such an amazing story. And there's one player in particular, Johnny Mullagh, which you basically have called your interpretive centre over. Mm-hmm. And he was the legend of the team, wasn't he?
Yeah, so Johnny Mullagh was a local rabbiter and a brilliant shearer for his time, the old blade shears. And he worked, lived, died and was laid to rest here in Harrow. He's actually buried at Harrow Cemetery. Johnny went over and they played an incredible number of matches. They played 47 matches in 4 months. So there was none of this 5-day test and then 2 weeks physio.
No.
It was intense. So while they were over there, Johnny bowled 1,800 overs. About 800 of them were maidens, and his bowling rate was 1 for 10. So that's pretty impressive by any standards.
And he was one of the best batters in the team as well.
And he was one of the best batters. His batting average was 24, but he did make 93 in one match.
Right, and this is back on pitches that weren't rolled like they are today, so that was a pretty good score.
Yeah, the Marylebone bowler, who was considered the best bowler in the world at the time, said he'd never bowled to a finer batsman. So.
Right, and he also got behind the stumps as well.
Oh, I did a bit of everything, yeah.
Right.
Was responsible for some stumpings, yeah.
Wisden, just get on to Johnny Mullagh. He was the original legend. And what amazes me about him, because I've read about him, is that not only was he bowling, right, and just getting the most wickets, top scoring for his team, getting behind the stumps, but at half time during these matches, which went for longer than 5 days, they just played until you finish, right?
That's right.
They used to get out at lunchtime and throw spears to the crowd and just basically do a demonstration.
Yeah. One of the, I suspect at the time that more people came to watch the curious natives from Australia than they did to watch the cricket. But one of the exciting announcements that we had last year was that the native artefacts, the boomerangs and the spears and the clubs and the nulla nullas and the spear throwers that they had taken with them at the time, no one knew where they were.
Yeah.
Last July they were found, and we're actually really lucky because in 2 years' time we celebrate the 150th anniversary of the tour, and the museum that's actually got those things has agreed to loan them to us for the celebration.
Oh, so. Right. Well, it's pretty ironic that we all get sent over here because we steal stuff, and now they're basically going, no, that shit's ours.
Well, this is just as much a part of English history as it is ours. I mean, this is the first time some of those people had any idea what a native Australian looked like. Most of them would have got word via, mail on a ship that, there's these Indigenous people in the new country, but there was no cameras or anything.
And also, it was the first time that an English cricket team had played an international country as
well.
That's
right. That's
Yeah.
right. They were our first, not just the first Indigenous team, but the first international Australian cricket team.
Well, that's just such a great story. What was your name?
Christy.
Yeah, so come to Harrow and see.
Just come out and find out about
This great Aussie story. And I think the amazing thing as well is, if just to put this in perspective about Johnny Mullagh, what an Aussie hero he is. I mean, that's like, say, Shane Warne going out and getting the most wickets, and then going out and top scoring, and then at half time just like, you know, entertaining people in the crowd, like, you know, just pulling Liz Hurley out of the crowd and shagging her. So yeah, Johnny Mullagh, bloody legend.
And there's Johnny, hey? Good looking bloke too.
Is anyone from Cricket Australia out there that like to put a vote in for him being in the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame? That's the man.
He's not in the Australian Cricket Hall of Fame.
No.
Even though he went over there, top score, did everything, threw spears.
That's right.
What?
There is a very long and strategic process for nomination to the Hall of Fame.
What, does Johnny have to wait a little bit longer before he gets in?
Well, just a little bit longer. Not
Yeah.
too much more though, we hope.
Yeah.
Gary?
Wonder whether there'll be a museum with a statue of you in it, mate. Yeah, it'd probably be just like it is now, mate. You just hanging around this cigarette butt machine and a whole lot of turds on the floor.